Hi everybody, my name is Cody Naipan, and today I'm going to be showing you the proper technique to do a full power snatch movement. So as you can see here, performing the power snatch, and it's very important to know how to get into the proper starting position. So first you want to stand with your feet placed between hip and shoulder width apart, and you want your toes to be pointed slightly outward. So this is so your knees will track directly over your feet. And then it has different phases, but of course, to get into the starting position for the full power snatch, you want to be able to squat down so that your hips are lower than your shoulders, and then you want to grasp the bar evenly, and then you want a closed grip. So closed grip, you have your thumb closing in on it. An open grip would be if your thumb is on the same side. But for these Olympic movements, you want a closed grip to be able to perform it properly. Again, for the power snatch, as compared to other movements like the power clean, where the grip can be shoulder width apart, we want a wider hand placement, and we want our arms to be fully extended as we're squatting down. And again, throughout this movement, there are many different muscles and joints that are being used. It's basically a full body movement using both upper and lower body extremities. So again, through the concentric phase of the movement, you have your hips being extended using your muscles like your glutes, as well as your hamstrings like the biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and gluteus, and the semimembranosus. And again, when your knees are extended in the lockout phase, you can use your quad muscles, your vastus medialis, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, your rectus femoris. And then your ankles and plantar flexion as well, so that activates your gastrocnemius as well as your soleus. And then when your shoulders going into flexion during the catch phase, use your anterior and your middle deltoids to be able to do that. With the scapular elevation, when you're going through that pull phase to the transition phase, use your trapezius for that scapular elevation. And again, for that elbow extension, you're going to be using your triceps brachii as well. And those are your prime movers. And for your synergist, you're going to be using muscles like your gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, your posterior deltoids, your biceps brachii, the brachialis, brachioradialis, and as well as your core as a really good stabilizer throughout this whole movement as well. As far as for the desired range of motion, this is very individualized. Again, you want to be able to squat down throughout the movement. And again, if somebody has trouble being able to squat down and keep their arms in the proper starting position and not being able to flex, then for inflexible persons attempting to do this lift, they could start in the hang power snatch position so they don't have to go all the way down to the floor. And that's an alternative for individuals who have not that great range of motion, and they could work to get to the full power snatch where they could get all the way down to the floor. Again, this movement does not require a spotter, as you'll see with many Olympic movements. Most do not require spotters because it's very high velocity movement, and that could put both the lifter and especially the spotter in danger, because if you have somebody standing behind this movement and the bar gets thrown behind, it can land on them and severely injure them. So having spotters for this movement is not recommended, but having people nearby in case something goes wrong is always recommended, of course. Pertaining to sport carryover, this movement greatly increases power and explosiveness for athletes. For example, football players and basketball players, and even cheerleading for the cheerleaders who have to lift up the other cheerleaders. You can see throughout the range of motion that it's kind of pretty identical. And this is all sagittal plane movement that has taken place as well. And as far as daily life carryover, it just increases overall upper and lower body power. And with jobs that require you to be able to squat down, lift something up, and possibly throw something, this lift and this movement could have a direct carryover into individuals' lives in that nature. As well, for the eccentric muscles, Again, it's the opposite of the concentric, so it has multiple phases. Your eccentric muscle action patterns could involve your hip flex, your knee flexion, your ankle dorsiflexion, and your shoulder extension. Just opposite to what the concentric phase is.